Now we just got to see if we're live or not. We had a little bit of technical difficulty. I just had to show Corey what technical difficulty feels like because, he's the computer guru and he doesn't have technical difficulty. So I just needed to break him in right.
I feel like I'm being set up.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Inman and this is Corey Steinke. We're in Colorado Springs.
Hi.
In their home. They've been hosting us. We just all piled in on them. Are we live, sister? Oh, Mr. Inman, are we live? Nobody knows. Bear with us. We want to make sure that our technical difficulties have passed. Yay, we're live. Yay. We did it.
Okay.
See how hard that is? Was your heart pounding?
No.
Well, my heart pounds when I have technical difficulties. It's like I can't fix this thing. He's so thrilled to be sitting here beside me. He knew I was going to do this to him.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, so here we are.
Here we are.
Do you want to just visit?
I don't care. It's your show. I'm just along for the ride. I know how your husband feels. Along for the ride.
Well, we are here with Dream Big Today Ministries. We do our 1-year daily Bible, read all the way through. We always say that because we have brand new people that join almost every single day. They come by, check us out, see what we're about. And then
about once a year, I'm one of those new people. Kidding.
He's kidding. He's checked us out way before that. I don't know.
But I'm going to drink my coffee.
Oh, you are? Well, I forgot my coffee. You want to go get it for me?
I would, but I got 3 or 4 helpers here that'll.
No, I'm teasing. I'm not going to drink my coffee. Well, we were going to say hello to everybody, but everybody else is live, but we're not live. So
that's interesting.
No, I just mean it's not coming up on my screen. So maybe it will this way. Let's do it this way. Because I wanted you to see everybody that's on with us today. We have the best group. This is the best community. I'm not kidding. The best community that comes on here live with us.
You're on the done. Right there.
We're live. Yay.
Cow.
And Paul's on with Paul. Look, we have a real live male getting ready to do Bible study, Paul. Paul's from Minnesota.
Paul will be the first guy to complain after my show today. Hey, off of there.
That's not Paul, though. No. I'll tell you what, Paul has our back.
Good.
You can count on Paul. Seriously. I mean that sincerely. And his wife, Cassie, does our new nuggets with us.
Good.
Yeah. And then let's see who else. Melissa's on. Oh, I better get my glasses on. Melissa's on and Nancy. Nancy's been with us a long time. Oh, and there's Debbie Nolan. You know Debbie.
Yeah,
Yep.
the chief.
Chief, that's right. She's the boss. Mama Mary's on. Mama Mary gave us a scare yesterday. We're sure glad you're okay this morning, Mama Mary. And then our other Donna's on. We've got multiple Donnas. Dee, you would not believe what was in my Bible this morning. You back in what year was it? Oh, I'm not going to find. I thought I was all prepared for this. I think it was 2022. You sent me the most encouraging prophecy over this ministry, telling me that this ministry was going to go worldwide and impact. Do you remember sending that to us, Dee? Thank you for that. And I wrote it in my Bible. It encourages me every time. Judy, so happy to have you with us. And Cassie's on. Oh yeah, Cassie's on with Paul. So that's just some of the ones that are on. But see, we have many more on there than shows up. So I try to always encourage them, say hello in the comments, put your prayer requests in the comments, praise reports. We love praise reports. Yep. And then Debbie's already telling me to give you a chance to talk. I can just tell you.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. She
Thanks,
keeps
Debbie.
me straight. So we're March 21st, Numbers chapters 32 and 33. But before we get started, would you mind just telling them a little bit about yourself? I mean, don't gush too much over me being your favorite sister-in-law or anything. I mean, kind of tone that down just a little bit and, let them just know a little bit of your background and where you've been in life. And
We'll start from the beginning where I worked with this lady and she introduced me to her daughter and we got married and then we went in the military. We
that was
finished
my
college.
mama, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
our
and-
mama introduced her
and
to
I
my
married
sister.
her sister, so I got the best pick. And then we finished college, went in the military, and I don't know, what are we, 30 some years later?
Yeah.
40 years later?
Oh,
Well,
you are
I
in
mean-
trouble. Come around and say hi, Carrie.
So we been a few places around the world and wound up in Colorado Springs. Was our last duty assignment, and we've stayed here ever since. And we've been associated with Andrew Womack Ministries off and on. I teach at Charis Bible College, and my wife, worked partner relations for a while.
For
and
how many years?
Me or her?
Well, both or
Well,
you. I know
both,
you'll know
off
your
and on
number.
about 16 years.
Yeah.
This is my 16th year teaching, and she was there before me as a volunteer, and she's had about 6, 8 different jobs. She couldn't hold down a job. So.
and then thanks to them, I get to go out to Charis Bible College and teach every year. So
Yep. And sometimes I wonder.
Now, easy. He's just wondering about the brilliance he had of making that introduction.
I don't have the coffee cup that she gave me, but I let the class read it yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, Carrie's going to get the coffee.
All right. Basically, I'm a thankful brother-in-law of a wonderful, awesome sister-in-law, and of course, she gave me the cup. Right. So
yeah. So anyway, he's very modest when he goes to tell you his background. Very modest when it comes to his background. Oh, there we go. There you go. Yeah.
If they can read the very bottom, but she gave me this, so.
We're happy to be on here and so happy. I mean, we have a good time. Corey and I always have a good time together. The family always have a good time when we get together, but we do take the Word of God extremely serious. And how has the Word of God changed your life, Corey?
Well, it's been consistent. I think that's the biggest thing is everything that we come back to. It's the one consistent thing in the world that we can count on. And I think that the tough one is finding and interpreting it to where we can find the nuggets that help us at the times that we need them. But the Lord will help guide you in that. And I think the biggest thing is that I feel like society is in this quandary where the enemy is attacking society and getting society to be so caught up in the little snippet approach to life that we're constantly being distracted. And I think we have to get back and find our grounding in what can truly be the guiding of what we really need. And we find that in the Word. So
what do you think about what we're doing with our Dream Big Today ministry, encouraging people to read God's Word all the way cover to cover?
Oh, that's the way to get started and get into it. I think the piece that you guys are doing is getting more and more people connected. God built all of us for relationship, and I think that's the key. Is that even through electronics, we can develop and create relationship. And I think relationship with each other and relationship with Him. And I think that's the point. And we all grow. We're all at a different phase, or call it a series in your life, or doesn't necessarily go by age. It goes by our growth. And we all continue to grow. We will until the day we die and go to be with Him. And so the key is we just continue on that march as best we can.
Amen. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for always being a good sport with me. Um, we're reading Numbers 32 and 33. Of course, Numbers is all of our favorite book of the Bible, right? It's our favorite. We love it. But there's some good lessons that. Where did you get that? What is this you're looking
My
at?
notes I typed up just
Oh, you typed. Oh, Debbie, you should see this. Oh my word! I got.
what
I
I
can
actually
already.
prepared. Is that
Yeah, I got to keep the two of you guys separate. I can just tell you that. It's a good thing you're in Colorado and she's in Oklahoma because the two of you with all this organization and preparation and whew, his notes are awesome, Debbie. So with that, why don't you kick us off? Numbers
okay?
32.
Well, you mentioned preparation, and so let me start with this tidbit because my wife, we held Bible study in our house for a number of years, and one of the things that came out of that Bible study was the concept the Lord kept putting on her heart: preparation, order, and provision. And yeah, Andrew Womack would tell you it's the same thing. It's seed, long time harvest, but that's really God's system. And again, the enemy gets everybody chasing. Everybody chases the provision. Everybody wants to focus on, well, I need that $500 by Friday, or I need this by next week, and they start chasing the provisioning. And the reality of God's system is, if we focus on the preparation, His order comes upon it, and then the provisioning is provided. And I think that's throughout the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. His systems have not changed. It's how we learn to employ those systems. So in Numbers 32. We're looking at the children of Reuben and Gad, and so we're back by the Jordan once again, and
We haven't crossed over
no,
yet
and the men
because you're
come
going to
up.
make the point here.
Yeah, the men come up and they say, we got a great multitude of livestock, right? And the land here at Jazer and the land of Gilead is good for livestock.
Before they got to the promised land, they were already abundantly blessed.
And they're also ready to settle for what they have, that this fits. Why do we need any more? And so, and of course Moses gets a little nervous because to him it's all maybe deja vu. He's feeling like, oh, I've been here before, and so he reminds them of the entire history of their fathers and what happened, and they didn't want to cross the Jordan. Now, first 32:5, Numbers 32:5. The men from the two tribes say, do not take us over the Jordan. And that's a very profound, strong statement. And I think that's what kind of sets Moses off, right? And so then, at that point in time, let's think, what is Moses' perspective as a leader? I've got my people not necessarily wanting to rebel, but my people kind of say, okay, we're done. We're ready to stay here, right? And Moses thinking, is this going to ripple throughout the remaining tribes that nobody's going to want to cross?
It's been 40 years in making. They've wanted to kill him how many times?
Yes.
And here we are. The only thing separating us from the promised land is this river.
Exactly. And they don't truly know what's on the other side. So are they giving up or forsaking something much better that God hasn't planned for them or in store for them, but yet they're ready to settle for what's in front of them?
Settle. Oh, that word.
Or take the easy path, right?
How many of us settle? How many of us want to take the easy path? But here's the deal. They were blessed. They had an abundance of livestock. They were already blessed. But I mean, what a lesson for us. I mean, so many of us want to settle. We're blessed. I have enough. It's good enough for me. So we'll settle, we'll compromise when what God's plan is for us is way beyond our wildest imagination.
Yep. And when you think about now Moses' perspective, he doesn't want to let this infect the rest of the tribes,
That's right?
He's trying to figure out how to, so he leads them through a memory lane.
He's thinking he's got another 40 years ahead of him.
It's like, I can't do this again, guys.
That's right.
And so after reminding them, right, then they come back and they say, okay, we will build sheepfolds here for our livestock. Now this is 32, 16, and 17. We will build sheepfolds here for our livestock and cities for our little ones. So they want to protect their families, which that makes sense, all right? But we otherwise will be armed, ready to go before the children of Israel until we have brought them into the place. So they're admitting that they're willing to go ahead and go to war. It's not that they're not necessarily afraid to go to war, and they even say they will go first. So they're willing to lead the other tribes of Israel into the promised land.
So Moses, what isn't always right?
No. And the real question I've asked myself in this is, was that already in their mind or in their hearts to begin with, or did Moses reminding them of their history spark them to say, yeah, but we'll do this, right? I don't know. And that's kind of up for interpretation, I believe.
Nobody's always right, even Moses. And I do love his demeanor through all of this, how he protected the vision. He protected his mission, what he was called by God to do. And so he pulled back. He stood firm. He asked the right questions at the right time, which may have sparked their commitment, or maybe their commitment was there. Either way, he was true to God.
And the dialogue goes back and forth twice. You know what I'm saying? In other words, they go through this kind of reaffirming. And to me, I teach a lot on expectation management. And so,
What'd you say?
expectation management.
So did I tell you that I'm sitting next to Corey Steinke? You've probably heard me through the years talk about expectation management. He drills. Did he mention that he was a lieutenant colonel in the Army? He drills this into us. Expectation management.
So as a leader, Moses is looking at this and he's clarifying. Let's look at it that way. That let me validate and clarify what you said, that you're willing to go in and lead, and so they go. That's where that dialogue goes through like twice to validate that, yes, this is how it's going to work, and then you can come home.
And I think this is one of the best points Corey is making. And I joke with him, and he's good-natured with me. But there's a reason I bring up expectation management a lot. He's influenced my life in this area as a leader. He's poured into me about how important expectation management is. And you guys, he knows this. I tell you guys all the time, all of us are leaders. Somebody's always watching. And the better we are at expectation management, the better everything goes. And he's making that point with this story with Moses and the Israelites that don't want to cross over on a permanent basis.
And in all of this, Moses is clarifying with them, it's about responsibility and accountability. So in verse 12, he says, then afterward you may return and be blameless before the Lord and before Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. So he's just clarifying and validating that you fulfill these obligations, your responsibility, and yes, the Lord will give you this land that you desire.
I want to point out the authority under which Moses operated under. So God told Moses to take them, and they are to cross over and go to the promised land. But look how, again, this relationship that Moses had with God, what looks like a bump in the road. Oh my goodness, they're not going to want to go over again. They're going to discourage everybody. But Moses had the authority. Yeah. Not just to grant the promised land, not just to grant them access to the promised land. He had authority on the east side of the Jordan as well. And that speaks to us today. This is Old Covenant, and Moses knew his authority. We have to know our authority and know how to take ground. Which, when I say ground or land, we have to know how to take land, the land which represents the promises of God, and stand firm in those promises by the authority given to us by God.
But we have to identify our barriers. Mm-hmm. So, they had the Jordan. So what's the Jordan in your life? What's the Jordan in our life that we are afraid to cross, right?
Yeah, so, we just want to settle in and be comfortable. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so what's it going to take to motivate us to engage and pursue that? And the Lord has what He has for us on the other side.
Good stuff. Well, when they get ready to cross the Jordan, I'm already wanting to jump ahead because it gets exciting when they get ready to cross it. It's not the same crossover as the Red Sea was.
No.
Not at all. But anyway, so is that it?
Well, depends how much longer you want to go.
No, well, we probably better get to Luke real quick. Debbie's already timing us. So
poor Peter is,
I know. He's waiting. Luke chapter 4, starting in verse 31 and going to chapter 5, verse 11. Ooh, I love the book of Luke. I love Luke. Healer.
Yeah, it starts off with all the healings and exorcising some demons, and but I really like the part of getting to, after he healed Peter's mother-in-law, and this is kind of interesting too because it talks about Jesus going around Galilee, teaching on the Sabbath, but it doesn't mention necessarily that Peter's with him at this point. But then he heals Peter's mother-in-law, but then it mentions
That's
that
right.
that he gets to the lake and there's the fishermen that were gone and washing their nets because they've been out fishing all night. So it implies that Peter's been out fishing the whole time Jesus was doing this other stuff. And they're tired and ready to wrap up for the day, so to speak. And along comes Jesus, right?
Yes.
And of course, the following comes with him. And so they turn around and they need him to, he asked Peter to push out in one boat so he can speak and be heard. And as he's teaching and preaching, everybody's learning, and I'm sure Peter is taking this in as well. But at the same time, I think in the back of his mind, he's kind of thinking like, okay, I'm ready to wrap up and get home because it's been a long day, long night.
Yeah.
And then when he stopped speaking, this is Luke 5:4-6, he says, when he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. And at that point in time, kind of imagine yourself as Peter after a long day and you're just wanting to get home. And it's like, we'll do one more task. And you're like, but that's not an easy task. That's a big task.
That's right. And I've been doing it all day long anyway.
So even though, he sees Jesus as his master, Simon Peter says, answered and said to him, Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the net. In other words, he's in a sense reluctant, but okay, if I must, I'll do this to satisfy you, right? Is the mindset, right? And when they had done this, they caught a great number of fish and their net was breaking. And so imagine the revelation that Jesus isn't telling me to let down the net for a chance at catching something. It's the reality that no, but this is the provision I have for you if you're willing to accept it. And so Peter had to learn to that. And, Peter was respectful in all of this, right? But what was Peter's expectation at this point in time? Going into letting down the net versus pulling the net in. In fact, they had to call the other boat back because there were so many fish. So really, it had enough for two boats when you think about it. At first, he might have believed Jesus was wasting his time, so to speak, not understanding the control that Jesus had.
Or the power and authority and who he really was at this point in time. And
what did this really do? It not only can, and this is where I tell a lot of times people when we get into discussions and if we lay out the facts and we show people some reality, a lot of times the person you're talking to may not be as influenced, but the 20 or 30 people around you watching and observing, many times they are, right? And so in Luke 5:9-11, he says, for he and all who were with him were astonished at the catch of fish which they had taken. And also James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, do not be afraid, for now you will catch men. So when they had brought their boats to land, they forsake all and followed him. So, all of them, Peter, James, and John, were pretty convinced at that point in time to think about it, to change their profession.
Yes,
right?
For sure.
And that's a fisherman. You know any fishermen? They're not easy to change or get off the water, let's just say. Right?
It's a little hard to get off the water.
Pretty dedicated, but in this case, they were willing to change and follow a different
Which
leader.
is going to be very relevant in many of the stories that we've already read because we're reading the Gospels. But these were professional fishermen, so these little jaunts out onto the sea,
right?
and they have these storms that scare them. They've been on these seas many times. They've been in many storms. And when they were on a storm that scared them to the degree it did these times they were with Jesus or Jesus was walking on the water, it's significant that they were professional fishermen. To wrap up Luke, all of Luke, today's reading, there are so many miracles that he performed right here. And we just got barely 2 columns of reading in our daily reading. I kind of summed it up a year or so ago. What did Jesus do in all of these? What was significant about all of these miracles, casting out demons, healing the sick, so many of them that they couldn't even name all of them. The first thing, he, in verse 35, he told the demons to come out. He spoke. And then he spoke again and he rebuked in verse 39. And then in verse 40, it was the touch of his hand. Yeah. And then in verse 41, he commanded. And then in verse 42, he isolated himself. Important. These are important topics. And then in verse 43, he preached. And then in verse 4, and there's several things about this, he encouraged them to go deeper and deeper, which is what we do when we do our daily Bible study. We get all the different insights. Good stuff. Good reading today. Lots of encouragement there. All these things that I have done, even greater things will you do. He tells us that. Yeah. So, anything on Psalm 64?
Everything in today's reading is very applicable. Psalm 64 is like, man, is that not a representation of this world today? Gosh, hide me from the secret plots of the wicked, from the rebellion of the workers of iniquity, who sharpen their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, bitter words. I mean, specifically, and I think about social media this day and age, that they may shoot in secret at the blameless. Suddenly they shoot at him and do not fear. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They talking of laying snares secretly. They say, who will see them? In other words, they're hiding. And that's what social media allows you to do, is be anonymous and look at the trolls on social media that want to attack everybody over every little topic. And you can't have a dialogue. It's everybody wants to immediately, if they disagree with you, well, you're an idiot or you're this, it's all this name calling. That's their little arrows, right? It's amazing that, when was this written, but look how applicable it is today.
So applicable. And that verse 5, the New Living Translation, they encourage each other to do evil. That's exactly what Moses was guarding against.
Yes.
And how often, again, you mentioned the social media. What a great point. In fact, I took notes as you were talking. Just, don't get used to it. But anyway, as he was talking, I took notes today. Social media. And then down in verse 8, their own tongues will ruin them. We've been talking a lot about how words are so powerful. So our own tongue ruins us. Yeah. And then everyone will be afraid. Then everyone will be afraid. Yeah. And then, I'll let you end on Proverbs 11. He'll get a kick out of this.
Oh, yeah. Proverbs 11:12, as a ring of gold in a swine's snout, so is a lovely woman who lacks discretion. But it's not just about women. It's about mankind.
Oh. See the wisdom this guy has?
I knew you'd like that.
That's why I like him.
I knew you'd like
That's why I love him.
I knew you were going to do that.
Well, welcome to the 1-year daily Bible study, Corey Steinke. I know you're so disappointed that we won't be side by side every time we get to do this.
No, I'm just looking at time management. I'm just trying to. You actually did okay.
Oh man, we did
long,
do good.
But you got a little late start, so it's kind of pretty close.
Debbie's breathing a huge sigh of relief right about now.
Yeah, Debbie and I are going to lock up, and we're going to get you.
Gonna get
We'll
me
square her
reined
away,
in.
won't we, Debbie?
Gonna get me reined in. I thanked her this morning for getting me up out of the ditch. She does that. She keeps me out of the ditch. I love you, Debbie. Love you. I love you all. Wasn't this great? Honestly, this is so good. Thank you, Corey. He's a busy, busy, busy guy. I don't know how many businesses he's ownership in. Teaching at Charis Bible College, mentors dozens and dozens of people all the time, just within our own family alone. Oh my goodness, just the ones he mentors inside of our family, let alone all of those on the outside. We're very, very blessed to have him. So